The huge doors of the Galactic Council chamber opened with a soft hiss. Commander Jack Reed took a deep breath and stepped forward, his footsteps echoing in the vast room. This was humanity's first time at the Council, and as Earth's chosen representative, Reed felt the weight of 5 billion humans on his shoulders. The Council chamber was built in a perfect circle. 12 tall seats rose high above the speaking floor, each filled by a different alien species. Some looked almost human-like, while others were so strange that Reed's mind struggled to make sense of their forms. One seemed to be made of shifting crystal, while another appeared to be a cloud of gas held in a containment suit. "The human representative may approach," announced a deep voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Reed walked to the center of the room, his simple blue uniform looking plain next to the elaborate outfits of the council members. He stood tall, shoulders back, chin up, just as he had been trained at the Space Force Academy. "Greetings, council members. I am Commander Jack Reed of Earth. On behalf of humanity, I thank you for inviting us to join the Galactic Council after our recent development of faster-than-light travel." The crystal being shifted, creating a sound like wind chimes. How quaint. The humans think they have been invited as equals. Several council members made sounds that Reed's translator identified as laughter. A tall, thin alien with 4 arms leaned forward. "Human, you must understand. Your species is being granted observer status only. Your technology is barely past its infancy, and your military capabilities are amusing at best." Reed kept his face neutral, though he felt a flash of anger. Earth's united military forces were the result of centuries of warfare and innovation. To have them dismissed so easily stung his pride. "Council Member Drav," Reed addressed the 4-armed alien, recalling the brief he had studied. "Humanity may be new to the galactic stage, but we bring unique perspectives and abilities. We ask only for fair consideration." Another council member, a being with blue-green skin and large eyes, spoke up. "The human speaks well, but facts remain facts. Their ships are slow, their weapons inefficient, and they have no psychic abilities whatsoever. They would be a liability in any serious conflict." More laughter rippled through the chamber. Reed stood silently, enduring the mockery with as much dignity as he could muster. The head counselor, a tall humanoid with golden skin called Trell, raised a hand for silence. "Commander Reed, the Council welcomes Earth as a Tier 3 member world. You will have access to trade routes, cultural exchanges, and basic technology sharing. In return, you will provide raw materials and agree to Council oversight of your development. This is our offer." Reed knew this was coming. The briefing materials had prepared him for this classification, the lowest possible membership tier. Still, hearing it stated so bluntly was difficult. "On behalf of Earth, I accept these terms," Reed said formally. What choice did they have? Humanity needed this alliance, even on unfavorable terms. As the administrative details were finalized, an emergency signal flashed across the chamber's communication system. The council members immediately turned their attention to a holographic display that appeared in the center of the room, forcing Reed to step back. The hologram showed a planet with several settlements. One was currently under attack, buildings burning and people fleeing. "Another Void Reaper raid," said Council Member Drav with a dismissive wave. "Third one this cycle." Reed studied the images carefully. The attackers were dark, almost shadow-like beings moving with frightening speed. Their ships were oddly shaped, seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. "These Void Reapers," Reed asked. "Who are they?" The head counselor glanced at Reed, as if suddenly remembering he was there. "A nuisance species from the outer reaches. They raid occasionally but pose no serious threat to the Council." But Reed wasn't so sure. His military training had taught him to recognize patterns, and something about this attack seemed different from a simple raid. The attackers were moving systematically, almost as if searching for something specific. "With respect, Counselor Trell, their attack pattern suggests this is more than a random raid. They appear to be searching the settlement and taking specific items or information." The crystal being made another chiming sound of laughter. "And now the human thinks to teach us military strategy. Perhaps next, it will offer to tie our gravity boots." The council erupted in laughter again. Reed's face flushed red, but he stood his ground. "I merely observe what I see," he said quietly. "Your observation is noted, Commander," said Trell dismissively. "Now, as the newest and least experienced member of the council, perhaps you should remain silent while we handle matters beyond your understanding." Reed nodded stiffly and stepped back. The council continued discussing the attack, but they treated it as routine, just another border skirmish to be logged and forgotten. After the meeting, Reed found himself in the vast hallway outside the council chamber. He replayed the attack footage in his mind. Something wasn't right, but nobody seemed willing to listen. They never do, you know. Reed turned to find a tall, slender alien watching him. Unlike the council members, this one wore a simple white coat with various tools and devices hanging from numerous pockets. "I'm Dr. Miller," she said, extending a hand in what was clearly an attempt at a human greeting. "Lena Miller. I'm one of the few humans already working with the council. Xenobiology department." Reed shook her hand, surprised to find another human. "Commander Jack Reed. How long have you been here?" 3 years, Miller answered. "I was part of the first scientific exchange. And before you ask, yes, they always treat newcomers that way, especially species they see as primitive." Reed frowned. "Those attacks we saw, the Void Reapers, what do you know about them?" Miller glanced around before answering quietly. "Not much officially, but unofficially. Their attacks have been increasing. That's the 4th this month, not the 3rd this cycle as they claimed. And they're getting bolder." "I noticed their attack pattern seemed purposeful," Reed said. "They weren't just destroying things randomly." Miller nodded. "I've noticed that too. But the council doesn't want to hear it. They've been at peace, so long they've forgotten what a real threat looks like." Reed considered this information carefully. "Do you have access to records of previous attacks?" "I can get them," Miller said. "But why? The council has already dismissed your concerns." Reed's expression grew determined. "Because if I'm right, and these aren't just random raids, Earth could be in danger too. And unlike the council, we haven't forgotten what war looks like." Miller studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Meet me in the archives tomorrow. Level 42, Section B. We'll see what we can find." As Reed walked away toward his assigned quarters, he couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's entry into galactic society had come at a dangerous time. The council might laugh at humans now, seeing them as weak and primitive, but Reed had a gut feeling they might need Earth's primitive military experience sooner than they thought. The shadows of the Void Reapers were growing longer, and only Reed and Miller seemed to notice the darkness spreading across the stars. 6 months had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council. Commander Jack Reed sat in his small office at the human embassy, reviewing reports with a deep frown on his face. The screen in front of him showed a map of the galaxy, with red dots marking Void Reaper attacks. There were now 27 dots. 6 months ago there had been only 5. The door slid open, and Dr. Lena Miller walked in, carrying a datapad. Her usual neat appearance was gone. Her hair was messy, and dark circles lined her eyes. "You look like you haven't slept," Reed said, pointing to a chair. Miller sat down heavily. "I haven't. Not properly. I've been analyzing the data from the latest attacks. Jack, this isn't random raiding anymore. This is a pattern of systematic testing." "Testing what?" Reed asked, though he feared he already knew the answer. "Defenses, reaction times, weaknesses." Miller handed him the datapad. "They hit the colony on Proxima 3 yesterday, 30 minutes before the council fleet arrived. Then they left, taking very little. They're timing the council's responses." Reed studied the data, his military mind seeing what the council refused to acknowledge. "They're preparing for something bigger." "The council still won't listen," Miller said, frustration clear in her voice. "I presented my findings this morning. They said humans are naturally paranoid due to their violent history, and dismissed everything." Reed stood up and walked to the window. From here he could see the gleaming towers of the council capital city. All those people, All those different species living in peace, unaware of the danger gathering at the edges of their civilization. "We need more proof," he said finally, "and we need allies who will listen." "I might know someone," Miller said. "A trader named Tom Barnes, human. He runs supplies to the outer colonies. He's seen the Reapers up close more than anyone. Can you arrange a meeting?" Miller nodded. "He's actually docking today, bringing in a shipment of rare minerals from the rim worlds." The spaceport was busy with beings from across the galaxy. Reed and Miller made their way through the crowd to Docking Bay 94, where a weathered cargo ship had just landed. A man walked down the ramp, wiping grease from his hands with a rag. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with a thick beard and scars on his arms. His eyes darted around constantly, the mark of someone who had seen danger and lived to tell about it. "Tom," Miller called, waving. Barnes looked up, smiled briefly at Miller, then eyed Reed suspiciously. "Didn't know you were bringing military," he said when they reached him. "This is Commander Reed, Earth's representative to the Council," Miller explained. "He shares our concerns about the Void Reapers." Barnes gave Reed a measuring look. "Let's talk somewhere else. Too many ears here." An hour later, they sat in a small cafe on the edge of the spaceport district. The place was dark and quiet, with mostly humans as customers. "I've seen them hit 6 colonies in the past 3 months, Barnes said, keeping his voice low. "It's always the same. They come in fast, jam communications, then target specific. Buildings, research centers, data archives, defense installations. They take what they want and leave before help arrives." "Do you have any recordings?" Reed asked. Barnes touched a small device on his wrist, and a hologram appeared above their table. It showed shadowy ships descending on a small colony. The footage was shaky but clear enough to see the precision of the attack. "This was Outpost 47, Barnes said. "Small mining colony. The Reapers took all their navigation charts and stellar maps, left the valuable minerals untouched." "They're gathering intelligence," Reed said, watching the footage carefully. "Building a complete picture of Council space." "That's what I think too," Barnes agreed. "But there's something else." He changed the hologram to show a close-up of one of the Void Reapers. The creature was tall and thin, with multiple limbs and a face hidden beneath a dark helmet. "I got this image 3 weeks ago. It's the clearest look anyone's gotten at them." Miller leaned forward, studying the image. "The Council claims to have known about the Reapers for decades, but I can't find any detailed information about them in the archives. It's as if someone has deliberately kept information about them limited. Or erased it," Barnes added grimly. Reed frowned. Why would the Council hide information about a potential threat? Before anyone could answer, their conversation was interrupted by an urgent beeping from Reed's communication device. He checked it, his face growing pale. "What is it?" Miller asked. "Emergency Council session," Reed said, standing quickly. "A major colony world has gone silent. Traxxas Prime." Barnes's eyes widened. "Traxxas Prime has over 3 million people and a defense fleet. If the Reapers hit there..." "We need to go," Reed said. "Both of you. The Council needs to hear what you know." The Council chamber was in chaos when they arrived. Representatives shouted over each other while emergency alerts flashed across the large screens. Reed stepped forward to his designated spot, with Miller and Barnes staying in the observer section. "Order!" Head Counselor Trell shouted above the noise. "We must have order to address this situation." Gradually, the chamber quieted. Trell looked tired, the first time Reed had seen any crack in the Counselor's usual perfect composure. "Traxxas Prime has ceased all communications," Trell announced. "The emergency beacon was activated briefly, then cut off. We have deployed a response fleet, but they will not arrive for 6 hours." 6 hours? Reed couldn't help but interrupt. "By then it could be too late. This has all the signs of a major Void Reaper attack." The crystal being made an angry chiming sound. Again, the human brings up these fairy tales of Void Reaper invasions. This is likely a communications malfunction. Reed took a deep breath. Council members, I have brought evidence that the Void Reapers have been systematically testing our defenses and gathering intelligence. Their attacks have increased from 5 to 27 in just 6 months. This is not random raiding. This is preparation for war. Absurd, said the four-armed Councillor Drav. The Reapers are a minor nuisance, nothing more. Reed gestured for Barnes to come forward. After a moment's hesitation, Trell nodded, allowing it. Barnes activated his wrist device, projecting the attack footage for all to see. I've witnessed 6 attacks personally, he said. Each one more organized than the last. They're learning your response patterns, your weaknesses. The council members watched in silence. Some looked concerned, but many still showed disbelief. Even if this is true, said the blue-skinned counselor slowly, our peacekeeping fleet is more than capable of handling such threats. We have maintained peace for 3 centuries. Peace has made you forget what war looks like, Reed said quietly. Humans remember. We've fought wars throughout our history. We know the signs. And everything about these attacks points to an imminent large-scale invasion. The chamber fell silent. For the first time, some of the council members were looking at Reed not with dismissal or amusement, but with uncertainty. Then the emergency alert system blared again. All eyes turned to the main screen as a new message appeared. Traxxas Prime defense fleet destroyed. Colony under full attack. Estimated enemy ships 500 plus. Request immediate reinforcements. The council chamber erupted in panic. Reed stood still in the middle of it all, his worst fears confirmed. The storm was no longer gathering. It had arrived. The attack on Traxxas Prime was only the beginning. Within 3 days, the Void Reapers launched attacks on 7 more Council worlds. The peacekeeping fleet, which had never faced a true war in over 3 centuries, was caught completely unprepared. Commander, Jack Reed stood in the Council's emergency command center, watching the disaster unfold on the large display screens. Reports of destruction poured in from across the galaxy. The Council members argued among themselves, their earlier mockery of humans replaced by fear and confusion. We need to coordinate our response, Reed said, raising his voice above the chaos. Each world is trying to defend itself alone. That's exactly what the Reapers want, to divide us. And what would you suggest, human? Asked Councillor Drav, his forearms gesturing wildly. Your species has barely left its own star system. What could you possibly know about galactic-scale warfare? Before Reed could answer, Dr. Miller burst into the room, followed by Tom Barnes. Both looked like they hadn't slept in days. The colony on Proxima 6 is next, Miller announced, holding up a datapad. I've analyzed the pattern of attacks. They're moving systematically through this sector, and Proxima 6 is clearly their next target. Proxima 6? Reed asked, suddenly alert. That's only 2 light-years from Earth's furthest colony. Exactly, Miller said. And it has minimal defenses. Over 50,000 people live there, mostly miners and researchers. Head Councillor Trell shook his golden head. We have no ships to send. Everything we have is already engaged or destroyed. Reed made a quick decision. Earth has a battle group stationed near that system. I can redirect them to evacuate the colony. Your primitive ships? Councillor Drav scoffed. They would be destroyed instantly. Reed turned to face the council. With all due respect, while you've been arguing, people are dying. Human ships may be primitive by your standards, but they're crewed by soldiers who know how to fight. Right now, fighting is what we need. After a moment of tense silence, Trell nodded. Do what you can, Commander, but do not engage the enemy directly. Your mission is evacuation only. Reed nodded sharply and left the room, already activating his communication device to contact Earth's fleet. Captain Laura West of the Earth Defense. Force Vessel Defiant received her orders with a grim expression. As the flagship of Earth's Third Fleet, the Defiant was not the most advanced ship in the galaxy, but it was sturdy and well-armed. Change course for Proxima 6, she ordered her crew. Maximum speed, and send word to the rest of the fleet. We're conducting an emergency evacuation. Her first officer, Lieutenant Mark Turner, looked concerned. The new orders say this is a Void Reaper attack zone. Those are the same beings that destroyed an entire Council defense fleet. I'm aware, Lieutenant, West replied calmly. But those people need help, and we're the only ones who can get there in time. The Defiant and its 5 companion ships adjusted course, their engines glowing bright as they pushed to maximum speed. On Proxima 6, panic was spreading. News of the Void Reaper attacks had reached them, and with no word from the Council about protection, many colonists were trying to flee on their own ships. The colony's administrator, a middle-aged man named Robert Green, tried to maintain order. "Please remain calm," he shouted over the noise of the crowded main square. "We need to organize an orderly evacuation." But fear had taken hold. People pushed and shoved, trying to gather their belongings and secure spots on the limited number of transports. Then a new sound cut through the chaos, the deep rumble of ship engines. People looked up to see 6 ships with Earth markings descending through the atmosphere. The Defiant landed in the colony's main field, its hull gleaming in the sun. The ramp lowered, and soldiers in Earth Defense Force uniforms marched out, led by Captain West. Green rushed to meet her. "Thank the stars you're here, the Council sent nothing." "The Council is overwhelmed," West explained quickly. "Commander Reed sent us. We have room for everyone, but we need to move fast. Intelligence suggests the Reapers will be here within 5 hours. 5 hours? Green's face paled. We'll need at least 8 to evacuate everyone. West's expression remained determined. Then we'll have to buy more time. Start loading the most vulnerable first. Children, elderly, the sick. My soldiers will help with the evacuation while we set up defensive positions. As the evacuation began, West's communications officer approached her. "Captain, we're detecting multiple ships entering the system. They don't match any known Council signatures." West nodded grimly. "They're early. Lieutenant Turner, deploy our fighters and prepare defensive measures. We're going to have to fight while we evacuate." In the Council Command Center, Reed watched the situation unfold via the emergency communications link with the Defiant. The Void Reapers had arrived at Proxima 6 3 hours ahead of predictions, but Captain West had already begun evacuation procedures. "They won't be able to evacuate everyone before the Reapers arrive," Miller said, concern evident in her voice. "They'll have to fight," Reed replied, "and they will." The Council members watched in silence as the feed showed Earth's ships forming a defensive perimeter around the colony. The Void Reaper vessels, black and menacing, approached rapidly. "Your ships are outnumbered 3-1, Counselor Drav observed. "They cannot win." "They don't need to win," Reed said. "They just need to hold long enough for the evacuation." The battle began. The Reaper ships attacked with overwhelming force, but the Earth vessels responded with unexpected tactics. Instead of meeting the Reapers head-on, they used the moon's gravity to swing around and attack from multiple angles. Earth fighters, smaller and more maneuverable than anything the Council used, darted between the larger Reaper ships, causing confusion and disrupting their formation. "What are they doing?" asked one of the Council members. "That's not standard fleet protocol." "It's called adaptive combat," Reed explained. "Humans don't fight according to fixed patterns. We adapt, we improvise, we overcome." On the screen, the Defiant took a direct hit but continued fighting, its weapons blazing. Captain West's voice came through the communication system, steady despite the chaos around her. "Evacuation 60% complete. We're holding them back, but taking heavy damage." Another Earth ship exploded under the Reaper's assault, but the remaining vessels closed ranks, protecting the evacuation transports as they lifted off from the surface. The Council members watched in stunned silence. These humans, whom they had dismissed as primitive, were fighting with a ferocity and skill they had never witnessed before. "Evacuation complete," West's voice finally announced. "All civilians secured, defense fleet beginning withdrawal." The remaining Earth ships turned and accelerated away from the planet, taking multiple hits but continuing their retreat. The Void Reapers pursued but soon broke off, turning their attention to the now empty colony. In the command center, the silence was broken by the blue-skinned counselor. "They saved everyone," he said in quiet disbelief. "And they sacrificed their own ships to do it." Reed looked at the Council members, seeing new respect in their eyes. "This is what humans do," he said simply. "We protect our own, and right now every being in this galaxy is our own." Head Counselor Trell stepped forward. "Commander Reed, perhaps it is time we listened to your defensive strategy after all." The Galactic War had begun, and for the first time, the Council wasn't laughing at humans anymore. They were turning to them for help. 2 weeks after the evacuation of Proxima 66, the Galactic Council's main chamber had been transformed. Gone were the ornate decorations and comfortable seats. In their place stood a military command center with screens showing battle maps and fleet movements across the galaxy. At the center of it all stood Commander Jack Reed, now officially appointed as Strategic Defense Coordinator for the Council. The once mocking Council members now listened carefully as he outlined the latest defensive plans. "The Void Reapers have taken 12 major systems," Reed said, pointing to red areas on the galactic map, "but their advance has slowed because they're spreading themselves thin. This gives us an opportunity to regroup." "Where do you suggest we base our counteroffensive?" asked Head Counselor Trell, who had dropped much of his formal manner in the face of crisis. Reed touched the map, which zoomed in on a blue dot. "Earth." Several council members shifted uncomfortably. Counselor Drav spoke up. "Earth? But it's so undeveloped and far from the Council core worlds." "Exactly," Reed replied. "The Reapers are focusing their attacks on developed Council worlds. Earth is still seen as a minor player, which makes it perfect for our command base. Plus, Earth's military infrastructure is already prepared for war scenarios." After some discussion, the Council agreed. Within days, the central command for the war effort was relocated to Earth, in a facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains that had once served as a defense headquarters during Earth's own conflicts. Dr. Lena Miller sat surrounded by holographic data displays in her new laboratory at Earth Command. For days, she had been analyzing every piece of information about the Void Reaper attacks, looking for patterns that might reveal their overall strategy. "You need to sleep sometime," said a voice from the doorway. Tom Barnes walked in, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to Miller. "Thanks," she said, taking a sip. "But I'm close to something. Look at this." She pulled up a map showing all Reaper attacks. They're hitting specific types of planets in a specific order. It's not random destruction. They're looking for something. What could they possibly want? "From so many different worlds?" Barnes asked, studying the pattern. Miller shook her head. "I don't know yet, but if we can figure it out, we might be able to predict their next moves more accurately." The door opened again, and Reed walked in, followed by Captain West, whose ship had been repaired after the battle at Proxima 6. "Any progress?" Reed asked. Miller showed them her findings. "I need more data, but there's definitely a pattern. They're not just conquering, they're searching." Reed nodded thoughtfully. "Keep working on it. In the meantime, we have a more immediate issue. The Council fleet commanders are refusing to adopt our battle tactics. They keep using the same formations and strategies that the Reapers have already beaten multiple times. They're too set in their ways," West said, frustration clear in her voice. 3 centuries of peace made them forget how to adapt." Barnes, who had been quietly listening, suddenly spoke up. "Then we need to show them, not tell them." Everyone turned to look at him. "What do you mean?" Reed asked. "A demonstration," Barnes explained. "A joint mission with humans leading smaller mixed teams. Let them see our methods in action." Reed considered this for a moment, then nodded. "I know just the place. Alpha Station." Alpha Station was a major fuel and supply depot that had been taken by the Reapers 3 days earlier. It was a strategic location that the Council needed to recapture, but their previous attempts had failed. Reed proposed a new approach to the Council, a small force of mixed species using human combat tactics. After much debate, they agreed to the plan, although many remained skeptical. The mission force consisted of 5 ships. The Earth vessel Defiant led the group, with Captain West in command. Each ship carried a mixed crew of humans and various Council species. They had trained together for just 3 days. Not much time, but all they could spare. As they approached Alpha Station, West gathered the commanders for a final briefing. "Remember, the Reapers expect us to attack head-on, following standard Council fleet protocols," she said. "Instead, we'll split into 5 teams and approach from different vectors. Communication is key. Stay in constant contact, but use the encrypted channels." Lox, a blue-skinned pilot from one of the Council worlds, looked nervous. "This goes against all our training. Splitting forces is considered a fatal error." "In conventional warfare, yes," West agreed. "But the Reapers have already proven they can defeat conventional tactics. We need to be unpredictable." The Council commanders still looked uncertain, but they followed orders as the fleet split up and began their approach from 5 different directions. In the Earth Command Center, Reed, Miller, and Barnes watched the operation unfold on the main screen. Council members stood behind them, their expressions a mixture of hope and doubt. "Alpha team in position," came West's voice over the comm. "All teams report readiness." One by one, the other teams confirmed they were in place. The Void Reaper, ships guarding Alpha Station, began to move, detecting the approaching vessels but confused by their scattered formation. "Begin Phase 1, West ordered. What followed was unlike anything the Council species had ever seen. Instead of engaging in direct combat, the 5 teams performed coordinated hit-and-run attacks, striking quickly and then retreating, drawing the Reaper ships away from the station in different directions. "What are they doing?" asked Counselor Drav. "They're not even trying to destroy the enemy vessels. They're creating confusion," Reed explained, "dividing the Reaper forces, making them chase multiple targets." Once the defending ships had been sufficiently scattered, West gave the signal for Phase 2. The human fighters launched from their ships, small, agile craft that darted between the larger vessels. They targeted the Reaper's sensor arrays and communication systems rather than trying to destroy the ships outright. "They're blinding them," Barnes explained to the watching Council members, "taking away their ability to coordinate." With the Reaper ships in disarray, the main attack force moved in. Using the debris field from earlier battles as cover, they approached Alpha Station itself. A team of human and Council soldiers boarded the station, fighting their way to the control center. After 20 minutes of intense combat, West's voice came through again. "Alpha Station secured, enemy forces retreating." In the command center, there was a moment of stunned silence followed by cheers. The Council members looked at Reed with new respect in their eyes. "Your tactics," said the crystal being, its chimes sounding almost awed. "They are unorthodox but effective. Humans have always had to adapt to survive," Reed said simply. "Now we need to teach your forces to do the same." Counselor Trell stepped forward. "Commander Reed, I believe it's time we formally acknowledge what has become clear. Humanity may be new to the galactic stage, but you have knowledge and skills that the Council desperately needs in this war." Reed nodded, accepting the acknowledgement without pride or arrogance. "Then let's get to work. The Reapers have taught us a harsh lesson about complacency. We can't afford to be slow learners." As the Council members filed out to spread the word about the victory at Alpha Station, Miller approached Reed, her eyes wide with excitement. "Jack, I think I've found it. I know what the Reapers are looking for on all these worlds." "What is it?" Reed asked. "It's not what, it's who," Miller replied. "They're looking for us, for humans." "What do you mean they're looking for humans?" Reed asked, staring at Dr. Miller in disbelief. Miller pulled up a holographic display showing data from all the Void Reaper attacks. "Every world they've hit has had human visitors or residents within the past 5 years. And look at this." She highlighted several sections of data. "They've been taking DNA samples, scanning population records. At first I thought they were just gathering general intelligence, but they're specifically focusing on human biological data." Reed frowned. "But why? What's so special about humans?" "I think I know," Tom Barnes said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. "During my last trading run before the war started, I visited a remote outpost. There was an old alien there, not from any Council species. He told me stories about the shadow beings that once nearly destroyed his civilization thousands of years Ago. The Void Reapers? Captain West asked. Barnes nodded. According to him, they were finally defeated when his people discovered the Reapers had a weakness. They couldn't process certain types of brainwaves. They developed a weapon based on this discovery and drove the Reapers back. Miller's eyes widened. Human brains produce unique wave patterns compared to other council species. Our neural structure is different, more chaotic, less predictable. So, they're studying us to overcome this weakness, Reed concluded, or to eliminate us before we discover it. The room fell silent as they absorbed this information. Finally, Reed spoke again. We need to confirm this theory, and if it's true, we need to find a way to use it against them. 3 days later, a special meeting was called in the Earth Command Center. The council members gathered around a large table, looking at Reed and Miller expectantly. We've confirmed our theory, Miller announced. Human brainwaves create a disruption in Void Reaper neural systems. It's not fatal to them, but it interferes with their ability to coordinate and communicate telepathically. How did you confirm this? Counselor Trell asked. We captured a Reaper drone during the Alpha Station operation, Reed explained. Dr. Miller ran tests exposing it to various stimuli. Human brainwave patterns caused it significant distress. So humans are naturally resistant to their psychic attacks, Counselor Drav said thoughtfully. That explains why they want to eliminate your species first. It also gives us a weapon, Reed continued. We've developed a device that amplifies human brainwave patterns and broadcasts them. Initial tests show it disrupts Reaper communication systems. He placed a small metal device on the table. It looks simple, just a metal box with a few lights and controls. This is the prototype, Reed explained. We call it the Mind Shield. With your permission, we'd like to equip all fleet vessels with these devices. The council members looked at each other, then nodded in agreement. For once, there was no argument, no dismissal of human ideas. How soon can we deploy these devices? Trell asked. Production has already begun, Reed replied. We should have enough for the main fleet within a week. And what is your plan for using them? Asked the crystal being. Reed activated the holographic display showing a star system on the edge of council space. Intelligence suggests the Reapers have established their forward command base here, in the Vega system. We propose a direct attack with a combined fleet using the mind shields to disrupt their coordination. A bold plan, Trell said. But if it works? If it works, Reed finished, we can turn the tide of this war. 1 week later, the largest fleet ever assembled in Council history gathered near the jump point to the Vega system. Over 300 ships from all Council species, each equipped with a mind shield device. At the center of the formation was the Defiant, now upgraded with Council technology but still bearing Earth markings. On the bridge, Commander Reed stood beside Captain West, watching as the final preparations were made. All ships report ready, West said. Mind shields are online and functioning. Reed nodded. Begin the jump sequence. One by one, the ships activated their faster-than-light drives, disappearing in flashes of blue light as they entered the jump point. The Vega system was a red giant star surrounded by rocky planets. Orbiting the third planet was the Void Reaper forward base, a massive structure of dark metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. As soon as the Council fleet arrived, the Reapers responded. Hundreds of their ships moved to intercept, their black hulls standing out against the red glow of the star. Activate mind shields, Reed ordered. Throughout the fleet, the devices powered up, broadcasting the unique pattern of human brainwaves across space. The effect was immediate. The previously organized Reaper formation began to falter. Ships drifted out of position, their movements becoming erratic. They're confused, West said, watching the tactical display. The telepathic link between their ships is breaking down. All ships engage according to plan, Reed commanded. The Council fleet moved forward in the attack pattern that humans had designed, not as a single unit, but as multiple smaller groups, each targeting different sections of the Reaper fleet. Without their perfect coordination, the Reapers couldn't respond effectively to the multi-pronged assault. For the first time since the war began, The Council forces were winning decisively. Reaper ships fell one after another, unable to coordinate their defenses. Reed led a small strike team in a direct assault on the command base itself. The Defiant and 5 other ships broke through the weakened defenses, approaching the massive structure. "Prepare boarding teams," Reed ordered. "We need to capture their command center intact if possible." The battle for the base was fierce. The Void Reapers fought desperately, but the human-led teams pushed forward, their mind shield devices protecting them from the Reapers' psychic attacks. Finally, Reed and his team reached the central chamber of the base. Inside, they found what looked like a map of the galaxy, with Earth and several other human colonies highlighted. "This confirms it," Reed said. They were targeting human worlds specifically. With the capture of the forward base and the destruction of a significant portion of their fleet, the Void Reapers began to retreat. It wasn't the end of the war, but it was the beginning of the end. 1 month later, Commander Jack Reed walked into the rebuilt Galactic Council chamber. Gone was the military command center. The Grand Hall had been restored to its former glory, with one significant change. A new seat had been added to the circle, marked with Earth's symbol. As Reed entered, the entire council stood and applauded, something that had never happened before in the council's long history. Head Counselor Trell stepped forward. "Commander Reed, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I extend our deepest gratitude to you and to all humans. Your species, which we once dismissed as primitive, has saved us all." Trell gestured to the new seat. "Earth is hereby granted full membership in the Galactic Council, with all rights and privileges. Furthermore, the Council has unanimously voted to establish a new Galactic Defense Force, with you as its first High Commander." Reed looked around at the Council members, the same beings who had laughed at humans just months ago. Now they watched him with respect and admiration. "I accept this honor," Reed said. "Not for myself, but for all humans and for all beings who believe in standing together against any threat." As he took his seat in the council circle, Reed thought about how quickly things had changed. The council had laughed at humans until a dangerous war broke out. And then they discovered that sometimes the most unlikely species could become the greatest heroes. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again.